Hi, this is Sandra from the Bible Talk Show, bringing to you another book in the Bible, the book of James. We're going to take a look at God's love and God's judgment in this book. All right, take a look first at a summary of the book of James. The book of James, found in the New Testament, is a practical guide for living out one's faith, written by James, the brother of Jesus and the leader of the early church. It focuses on the relationship between faith and works, urging believers to live righteously and demonstrate their faith through actions. The key themes in the book are your faith in action. James emphasizes that genuine faith must be accompanied by good works. Faith without works, he states, is dead. Wisdom from above. The book stresses seeking divine wisdom, which leads to humility and righteousness. Control of your tongue. James highlights the power of words, warning against the harm caused by careless or destructive speech. Trials and perseverance. He encourages believers to view trials as opportunities for growth in faith and endurance. Care for the vulnerable. James calls for compassion and justice, urging readers to care for the poor, the widows, and the orphans, and the warning against worldliness. The book warns against selfish desires, pride, and trusting in wealth, encouraging submission to God. This is a really good book. I studied it for I think probably a couple months in my Bible study group. It's a really good book to read. I encourage all of you to read it and learn. It really will help you in your life, your journey in life, because it teaches you how to do God's work once you're saved, how to watch your mouth to get yourself out of trouble by keeping your mouth shut. Careful what comes out. You have to think first before speaking because the tongue is dangerous. All right. All right, let's move on. All right. Scriptures of love and God's love in the scriptures of the Bible, James, book of James. The book of James beautifully reflects God's love through practical teachings and encouragement for believers. While James focuses heavily on faith and works, the underlying message of God's care and compassion is evident throughout. Here are some scriptures that highlights God's love. James 1, verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. This verse reveals God's generous love, offering wisdom freely to those who ask in faith. James 1:17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, from whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. God's love is shown through his unwavering goodness and provision. James 4:6. But he gives more grace. Therefore, he says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. God's love is evident in his grace, which he abundantly offers to those who are humble. James 5:11. Indeed, we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful. This verse reflects God's love through his compassion and mercy towards those who endure trials. Because a lot of times we endure trials, we don't know when it's going to be over. It's a hard, very hard time. But in the outcome, there is it's better. You learn from it, you receive from it. Uh, it's much better, but it is hard going through it. Right? I can attest to that. Scriptures of God's judgment. The book of James addresses God's judgment with emphasis on your accountability, justice, and the consequences of one's actions. Here are some key scriptures reflecting this theme. James 2, verse 11, 12 and 13. So speak, and so do as those who will be judged by the law of liberty. For judgment is without mercy to the one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. This passage highlights the importance of showing mercy as God's judgment takes into account the mercy we extend to others. James 4:11, there is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who are you to judge another? This verse reminds us that ultimate judgment belongs to God alone, emphasizing his authority and justice. We're not supposed to be judging. We're supposed to be fixing our own self and not worrying about the others. James 5, verse 1 through 3. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have heaped up treasure in the last days. Here, James warns against greed and the misuse of wealth, underscoring the judgment awaiting those who prioritize material gain over righteousness. And James 5:9, do not grumble against one another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. This verse urges believers to avoid complaints and conflicts, as God is always present to judge. All right, the conclusion of this book offers practical encouragement and a heartfelt reminder to live in alignment with God's will. In the final verse of James 5, key themes are emphasized. Patience and perseverance. James calls believers to remain steadfast in the face of suffering, using the example of Job's endurance and God's compassion. He urges them to trust in God's timing and purposes, and the power of prayer. The closing chapter highlights the importance of prayer, both for individuals and the community. James speaks about the healing power of prayer, the role of faith, and the effectiveness of interceding for one another. Restoring fellow believers. The epistle ends with an exhortation to lovingly guide those who wander from the truth back to faith, stressing the importance of mutual care and accountability. And so the conclusion encapsulates the theme of faith in action, humility, and community care, leaving believers with a practical roadmap for living out their faith. It's a very good book. I encourage you to read the whole book. All right. Thank you for watching today. My name is Sandra. You can reach me at truesandcomcast.net. And we have many other videos for you to watch, mini series for you to watch on the Bible Talk Show. God bless.